It's race review time for the Australian Grand Prix Round 1 of 2019, and how do you guys feel it went? Let me know in the comments below, but I feel it was a steady start to the year. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bananas, but there are a few interesting stories here, there and everywhere, and the result. I was chuffed with the result, and I'll tell you why I was chuffed. For a very selfish reason. It's because of all the people over the winter that have constantly reminded me that Bottas will be kicked out of Mercedes, that Bottas is not going to be in the championship hunt, and instantly, hopefully, I've proved them wrong. Maybe it's definitely too early to tell, but your top three in the race, Valtteri Bottas took his first win for 2 seasons. Well, since 2017, Hamilton from pole for 4 years running, starts pole, ends second in the Australian Grand Prix, and Max Verstappen picked up Honda's first podium in the V6 era. We'll go through the rest of the result in a moment, but what an incredible performance from Valtteri Bottas, really putting his intentions clear that this year that beard gives you a couple of seconds extra pace. Finished over 20 seconds in front of Lewis Hamilton and took home the fastest lap award as well. A fantastic job. I was really chuffed to see his luck, his momentum, and his whole attitude just completely shift from where we were last year, and I really do think he's going to have a really solid year this year. And the other side of that Mercedes garage, Lewis Hamilton, a difficult day, didn't get the best of starts. Bottas overtook him almost instantaneously into the run to turn 1, and consequently ended up fighting with this guy, Max Verstappen, into the latter stages of the race. Hamilton off the pace. Is this the start of I suppose, aging Lewis Hamilton, perhaps losing a little bit of his skill? That's probably a little bit too far, a little bit extreme of a statement this early on in the season, but didn't quite look at his best, and considering last year, his start to the year, maybe he just needs a couple of races just to get into the swing of things, but again, a 1-2 for Mercedes. Firstly, that is the target, and picking up the point for fastest lap. That is maximum points for Mercedes, as you can see there on the graphic. And Verstappen, he is going to be thrilled with that result. Starting in 4th place between the 2 Ferraris, a difficult start for Verstappen, but as the race went on, he stayed out the longest out of all the top runners, excluding Gasly. He then came in, got on a fresh set of tyres, about 11 laps younger than the likes of Vettel and Hamilton. Vettel had issues late on, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, Ferrari's weekend. But Verstappen able to pass Vettel on track, which was great to see, some actual overtaking. And we didn't see loads, but we saw a good amount for Melbourne. Verstappen then went on the hunt for Lewis Hamilton, but went wide into turn 1 onto the grass, and I think that really hurt his momentum because his 10 laps of fun we heard about didn't really come to fruition. But going through the rest of the result, just missing out on the podium was Sebastian Vettel, the race winner last year and back in 2017. Ferrari, 4th and 5th, they will be bitterly disappointed with that. Just 24 points. Valtteri Bottas by himself got 26. Missed opportunity for the team coming into this race as the favourites before the weekend really kicked off. Kevin Magnussen, P6, best of the rest for Haas. A little, I suppose, a bit of joy for the team that suffered another issue within the pit stops. Kevin Magnussen was able to actually get through the race pretty hassle-free. Nico Hülkenberg recovering that Renault from a disappointing qualifying. 11th through to 7th. Again, I think there'll be happy faces on his side of the garage, perhaps not his teammates. Kimi Räikkönen holding in P8. Again, a solid race for his return to Alfa Romeo, or Sauber, whatever you want to call it. Lance Stroll out in Q1. Brilliant to get a 9th place, his first points for Racing Point. Danny Kvyat also picking up his first point of the season in the final points paying position. Now, beating out Gasly, that is going to be a brilliant thing for Danny Kvyat. Putting him back on the map in Formula 1 was very lucky, as you can see a little bit later on from Antonio Giovinazzi. I've just realised on the graphic that Norris is in yellow, should be orange, so if anyone said that in the comments, thank you. But Giovinazzi, almost from Stroll, well, Stroll and Kvyat were, I suppose, fighting at the lower end of the field, really. Giovinazzi also in that sort of group decided to do a late pit stop, which held up the guys like Grosjean, Norris, Albon, Perez, even Gasly to a degree, who are all fighting for those lower region of the points. Raikkonen was able to almost divert that because Giovinazzi let him through, and how they managed their strategy was a lot better. Hülkenberg as well was able to get past Giovinazzi very quickly. But the guys, Norris, Perez, Albon, who was having a really good race, was Alex Albon in his first race, just outside the points in 11th. He got mugged off royally, and as you can see, ended up nowhere near the points. And also, just to add to that, Giovinazzi's strategy didn't really help him in the end, finishing 15th. You could argue that's last of the competitive runners. The two Williams 16th and 17th. Kubica losing his front wing on the very first lap, tangling at the back of the field. But DNFs for today. My boy Romain Grosjean, Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz. Sainz, engine blow up. Grosjean, another issue in the pit stops with Haas's left front tyre not going on properly, and consequently, a few laps later, his suspension breaking, but rumours that was a root problem caused from the pit stop, so that not great. But the other man who did not finish the race was Daniel Ricciardo, and I've titled this segment Aussie Luck. The Aussies have never had any luck when it comes to their drivers doing well at their home Grand Prix. Even Ricciardo, when he got second back in 2014, was disqualified after the race, and yesterday it didn't go too great for Renault. 11th and 12th, Daniel Ricciardo in 12th, or Daniel Avocado, now we're supposed to call him, in 12th, looking to really push forward. And he was one of the drivers I said yesterday I was really looking forward to see what he could do. And, he lost his wings last year. Red Bull gave him wings. He lost them. And instantly, before we got to turn one, he lost his wing in the Renault. The front wing just popping off. Went wide onto the grass, and the front wing just decided it was going to have no more. The whole thing fell off. It was quite bizarre, actually, but I think that's down to these new front wings not liking the fact that it was a sudden change of almost ink. It was very strange. I'm trying to explain something that was just a bizarre, crazy incident. Consequently, he had to stop at the end of lap 1, was able to work his way back up through the field a little bit, and I think if he hadn't eventually retired the team later on in the race, decided to bring him in, maybe if he would have got those tyres to the end, he could have had a chance, but I feel the team did the sensible decision by bringing him in. It was a difficult day for Ricciardo, definitely trying to look for points next time out in Bahrain, and looking at his teammate already, one up in the race and one up in qualifying. Before the season, this is one of the closest team battles we were looking at. He'll be wanting to beat Nico Hülkenberg next time out in Bahrain, and I think that car, actually, looking at the pace today, I think it is safe to say it is fourth or fifth best on the grid, which we did expect going into the weekend. Qualifying, I think, was a bit of an outlier. But the other thing I wanted to really focus on today that I think is one of the biggest stories coming out of this race isn't Gasly failing to get into the points, isn't the likes of Haas having another issue with the pit stops, it's Ferrari. And I've titled this section Third Best because I don't really think they are third best over the course of the year or even now, but this weekend I think they were. Because in the race pace was nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And in the first sort of stint, it was going fine. They couldn't really keep up with the Mercedes, but Vettel was able to keep Verstappen at bay, and Leclerc, getting used to his Ferrari colours, wasn't really putting out anything exciting, shall we say. Wasn't dazzling like I think a lot of us expected him potentially to do, but Verstappen and Red Bull came up with this more creative strategy. Leclerc wasn't able to cover him off because he had a bit of an excursion onto the gravel, which you'll see in a moment. But really, Ferrari, bizarre weekend. Should have been quickest. We were all expecting them to be quickest. Verstappen late on, or I say late on, I think it was lap 31, was able to get past Vettel. And then for the rest of the race, either Vettel wasn't interested or there was some sort of issue, which I think was the actual case. There was some issue with Sebastian Vettel. Fell back into the clutches of Leclerc. Then Ferrari once again made another strategic mistake. First of all, didn't let Leclerc in front of Vettel, despite many times over the winter and this weekend saying team orders won't be issued. Nothing official yet. Very suspicious how Leclerc was gaining a second every single lap. Then when he caught up to Vettel, it stopped. Very strange. Didn't ever make a move for an overtake, although into turn 1 on the first lap, those two got very close to making contact. Leclerc, lucky he just managed to avoid it and get out of the way. But Leclerc, they could have brought him in for the pit stop to make that fastest lap point. It was a missed opportunity for Ferrari. Caught napping, I think, this weekend. And again, they are going to be trying to look for the win next time out in Bahrain and really kick off their season, because the last 2 years, points mean everything. They've really had to learn that the hard way. But as you've seen the last 10 seconds or so on screen, driver of the day, I'm changing it up a little bit this year. Last year I tried to do my driver of the day and my honourable mentions, but I've gone with a top 3, and my driver of the day, I do agree with the fan vote, Valtteri Bottas. A sublime performance. Not only did he lead it from lap 1 all the way to the flag, he got the fastest lap and beat his teammate Lewis Hamilton by over 20 seconds. That is an incredible achievement for a guy coming into this season with so much pressure. And after qualifying, a mistake in qualifying cost him pole position. And if he managed to not make that mistake, he would have had a grand slam, which really is an impressive achievement for any driver to get. So Bottas really turning around his fortunes this year. I've also put Verstappen as my second driver of the day. I think doing a really good job of keeping in the mix and not only passing the Ferrari of Vettel, but getting in an opportunity to potentially pass Lewis Hamilton. And I've put Hulkenberg in third, but really I think there was just one clear driver of the day today, and there's not really much contention. You could have put Stroll in the mix, maybe Kvyat holding off Gasly. So it's a bit of a, yeah, Bottas was driver of the day. And my race rating, I've only gone with 5. And for me, it was a very middle-of-the-road race. Nothing too crazy, no safety cars, which is bizarre in Melbourne. No real big dramas, except Ricciardo's front wing flying off. It was a very safe race for me, and I know a lot of people will be angry at that because I've seen a lot of positive reaction for the race, but I'm trying not to get overhyped by the new season because I did enjoy the race. It just wasn't an incredible race, and I don't really think it's going to be a very memorable race come the end of the year. But your championship standings, your top 3, obviously, Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Bottas leading by a solid 8 points. And you know what? This fastest lap rule, I haven't spoke about it too much on this channel. I might do a video on it later in the week, but it worked quite well. I'm still not sold on it, but in the first race, it wasn't too bad, and it did mix up strategy a little bit and added that extra little bit of tension in the final few laps. But that has been your race review. In the comments below, let me know who was your driver of the day. Was it someone who I didn't mention, who I'm completely forgetting and being a bit of a moron? Or do you agree, Valtteri Bottas? And what was your race rating? I imagine people do disagree with mine. But as always, you can join the F1 Reviews official fantasy league over on F1. I will be doing a separate video each race or after each race covering who's done great, how bad I've done. So that is in the description if you want to join. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.